welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and it's getting epic round here. So yeah, I am sorry, I couldn't resist that. Those of you who follow my channel will know that I'm embarking on a way through this big starter box of Pike and Shotte epic miniatures from Warlords, and I'm doing the 30-year war period rather than the English Civil War, because I've got English Civil War in 28mm. I've also got some 15mm as well. But the limitations of the Warlord range so far, and we'll see, they'll probably expand it as we go on, means that if you want to do 30-year war armies, particularly in the cavalry department, what you get on these epic sprues, very limited. You get a few dragoons, you get literally a couple of cuirassiers, and then the majority of them are just sort of bog standard cavalry of the period, which is fine to a point. But the difference between English Civil War and 30-year war is cavalry. There's a lot more cavalry in the 30-year war. I've done a lot of reading of it, and there's a lot more cavalry. So it got me thinking, how does a 15mm figure stand up to one of these epics? And could we swap them in? So that's what this video is about. Let's take a look. I'm continuing along with my painting of the Pike and Shotte epic figures from Warlord games. These sort of, what are they, 13.5mm figures. Actually surprisingly good, I think, for the scale, and yeah, they work pretty well on mass. So anyway, it's not the reason for this video, but as you may know, I'm looking to do 30-year war armies for this, particularly Imperial forces. And when you look at the army list within the Imperials, they have options for Cossacks and various other irregular cavalry. Plus, on the sprues, you don't get an awful lot of cuirassiers. And so I thought, well, I'll look into some of the other options that are out there. And I know from some of my older 15mm figures, comparing them with the American Civil War and also Napoleonic versions, that some of the older 15mm manufacturers work pretty well. So I picked up a couple of bags of 15mm Renaissance figures from, in this case, Essex Miniatures, a very old manufacturer, been going for years and years and years. This one is, I can't read the bag on it because it's rubbed out, RNC3, which I believe is Cossack cavalry. And they're quite nice in their own right. I mean, they're an old figure. These things have been going for a long time, and actually not a bad little model. I mean, the lance on that Cossack is quite chunky, but that's not the reason for doing this. Let's have a look at how he compares with one of the epic figures. Now, that's pretty close, I would suggest. Let's cut this guy off and have a look properly. Actually, let's cut one of the Cossacks off, one of the cuirassiers off, because A, they're a bit easy to get to, and B, and we've also got some cuirassiers to take a look at. So there he is. Quite a nice little model. I mean, I've seen people moan about the fact it's quite a flat model because of the way it's sculpted and the way it is moulded. Obviously, the detail's all in the side, not at the front, but it is what it is. So there is the horse. Actually, let's get the other horse, one of these horses that's more and it's properly running, and compare them side by side. Now the Essex figure is definitely a bit chunkier, but that's not far out, is it? It really isn't very far out at all. Let's put the rider on. He's a separate rider, which makes it a bit difficult to compare exactly. I reckon it's definitely a little bit bigger, but not so you'd have a big problem. I wouldn't say they particularly stand out as being substantially different scale. So that's the Cossacks. Got a couple of packs of Cossacks. Now let's have a look at the small Cossacks there. These are cuirassiers. Let's get these cuirassiers out because these guys are actually attached to their horses. These are Renaissance REN 68 from Essex. Look, oh God, he looks a bit like he's got a bit of a problem with his head, this guy. Yeah, that's not great moulding. Let's take this one. So they've got pistols. I mean, definitely bigger, but not to a massive. It's a bit bigger than. I mean, I think you can get away with that. I really do. Some people go, oh no, it's far too chunky compared to the Essex, compared to the Warlord figure. But I think when they're on the table, 3-foot rule and all that, they'll stand out okay. So there you go. So I just need to paint some of these up and see what they look like painted, don't I? Back in a few moments. So right, here we go. On the left, as you look at it, you can see the epic plastic cavalry. You can see the fairly basic on the front of the figures, which is a bit of a frustration actually. I thought people were moaning a bit unnecessarily, but I'm seeing it now, I'm not sure. Anyway, by the by. And on the right is one of the groups of Essex Cossacks that I bought, 15mm, true 15mm I suppose, because there's been so much of a scale creep that 15mm is more like 18 in modern figures, as 28 is more like 30 now. So you can see there clearly is a scale difference. I mean, it's noticeable. The Essex are bigger. Keep turning these around, but as you can see, it's not outrageously so. And I think from 3 foot away, it's going to be very difficult to tell the difference. But there is definitely. So I personally think they're interchangeable, and that gets even more noticeable if I show you what the cuirassiers look like. So here are some stands of cuirassier figures that I got. And actually, let me just start the turntable going so you can see. They painted up pretty simply, basic paint job, nothing spectacular. In fact, I've done some gold edging on some of those. I'm not sure I like it. I might take it off. Anyway, by the by. But in here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 epic cuirassiers interspersed. Can you spot them? Let them go round. You can probably, if you really, really try, you can see them. There's one there. Another one there in that block. Another one in the front rank there. And there's another one there in the rear. That's your 4. They go in okay, don't they? So actually interspersing them into these Essex. Remember, these are Essex 15mm cuirassier figures. Or at least heavily armoured figures. And I actually think they go in pretty well. So I won't have an issue with interspersing. In some ways, I think mixing them works better than having them as separate units. Let me put the Cossacks back on. Cossacks are actually quite big miniatures in their own right. But yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So there you go. If you want some extra cuirassiers for your epic figures, you might want to look at Essex 15mm Renaissance figures, because they're Renaissance or they're part of I think they're part of their English Civil War range. Anyway, check it out. 15mm cuirassiers, you'll find them. And I think they work really, really well. So I'm quite impressed with that. I'm quite happy with that, and it's a good way to supplement your collection. because if you are planning to do 30-year war, you're going to need an awful lot more cuirassiers than you do in the English Civil War. I think probably only one regiment, to my recollection, in the English Civil War were cuirassiers, and by the sort of middle end of the war, there were none. They'd stopped being used. Whereas on the continent in the 30-year war, they were still one of the main cavalry types. So very much important for your armies if you're doing that period. So there you go. I thought you'd be interested. I certainly was. It was an experiment for me as much as anything else. But I think that's conclusive proof. You can mix in your Essex 15mm cavalry figures with your epic ones. So that's all to the good. I guess next I'll have to try and test out some of the infantry. So maybe we'll do that in another video. Anyway, hope you found it helpful and useful and interesting. If you did, please give it a like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll keep working my way through that box set of Epic. Make sure that I have a game fairly soon. So enjoying it, actually quite enjoying it now. Got into the sort of swing of painting Epic figures again. So that's good. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you again soon. This is Dom signing out.